right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Missouri's fourth execution this year carried out tonight. What the convicted child kidnapper and murderer said in his last statement. Plus tonight, flood preps.
The stormwater systems were never designed, not here or anywhere, to handle the source of rain events we see right now.
How the state is prepping roads and sewers, bracing for another round of severe weather.
A weather first storm alert for Wednesday, an early morning flash flood threat for parts of the area, and an evening threat of severe weather for the metro as another flooding threat develops.
You're looking live right now over downtown St. Louis and City Park. Things are calm, but storms could be moving into parts of our viewing area, specifically west of St. Louis overnight. Because of the potential of flash flooding, we begin tonight in a storm alert. I'm Ann Allred. Mike Bush has the week off. We have team coverage. Laura Barczewski shows us how crews are preparing for those potential floods. But first, Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell tracking the storm.
You know, it's a setup that very similar to what we saw at the end of July last year when we saw those torrential rainfalls. Not that we're going to get a foot of rain, that's highly unlikely, but there probably will be some spots that get 3 to 5 inches or more overnight tonight, and then that chance will continue into tomorrow night. What's going on and where is it now? Well, there are a few light showers trying to drift towards St. Louis. None of this is really developed at this point, at least not enough to raise the flags for us, but we're starting to see signs up towards Kirksville of some additional development, and we really think it's this area back here into parts of mid-Missouri where things are going to blossom in the next 2 to 3 hours. Just kind of looking at that here through the early morning hours, mostly to the west and southwest of St. Louis. Some of it does get into the metro just in time for the morning rush hour, off and on, but the heaviest rain will not fall in the metro with this first wave. Where will it fall? West and southwest of St. Louis. That's where the flash flood watch, or the flood watch for flash flooding, is in effect. Now, for later tomorrow into tomorrow night, very early Thursday morning, St. Louis is then targeted for the potential of flash flooding. In fact, it's a high risk from the Weather Prediction Center. So flash flooding concerns why we're in this weather first storm alert. 2 rounds of heavy rain and potentially even some severe weather tomorrow evening. But that first wave stays to the west of us for the most part tonight. And then going into tomorrow night, that's when St. Louis has the better chance of seeing the heavier rainfall. We'll stay on top of it, Ann.
Crews from several different agencies tell us they're staffed up and on standby ahead of the storms. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski continues our team coverage. She's live near Highway 64 with how they're prepared to respond and how you can be ready. Laura.
And the Metropolitan Sewer District says it's best right now before the rain comes to go outside, check around your storm drain, or even just pick up things in your yard so that doesn't get stuck in the drain, causing a water blockage, so the water can go where it needs to, not in your house. With more rain on the way, St. Louisans think back to where we were just 1 year ago.
I hope to never see a rain event like we saw last year.
But the Metropolitan Sewer District says in preparation for the worst, they've kept up with regular storm drain cleaning.
We've got almost 350,000 inlets and manholes around here. So even though we're on a constant and rigorous inspection and cleaning schedule, it's a lot to get to. We can't see them all at once. So if you do see something that's a problem, please let us know.
Sean Stone with Project Clear says they've got all hands on deck.
We've doubled our standby crews, so we have more crews available to respond to issues quickly if there are issues overnight. We've also increased the number of people in our customer service center to handle the call volume if there are problems. Here's hoping we don't have them.
If drains end up clogged, that can also affect drivers. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says if you have to drive, check your route with MoDOT ahead of time.
If you're driving down a highway and you see a roadway that the water is covering, you don't know how deep that water is. You don't know what the road looks like underneath that water. It may be washed out and have a big rut in the road that would cause you to fall into the rut and get stuck and stranded.
And if you do get stuck, try to stay calm and call for help. Only 6 inches of water can cause a car to stall.
The best thing to do is, if possible, stay inside your vehicle. We don't know what the current is like. If the water is rising inside your vehicle and you need to get out, maybe crawl out on the roof of your vehicle, but try to stay there as long as you can.
Now you know the saying, if you're out driving, turn around, don't drown. However, if you're at home and you see a storm drain issue, you can call MSD at 314-768-6260. Reporting live from St. Louis, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
Get our Weather First forecast on your phone. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355. President Donald Trump, former president, has been indicted by a federal grand jury. Today, charges were handed down after examining Trump's role in the January 6th riot and efforts to overturn the election in 2020. Brent Solomon's taking a closer look at the charges and joins us with reaction.
Hey there, Ann. This is the first time in history a grand jury has indicted a former president for trying to overturn an election he lost. Today's charges include 4 counts, including conspiracy to defraud the nation, a conspiracy against the right to vote, and attempting to obstruct the certification of the electoral vote.
In this case, my office will seek a speedy trial so that our evidence can be tested in court and judged by a jury of citizens.
Special Counsel Jack Smith with the Department of Justice speaking after a grand jury Tuesday unsealed even more criminal charges against former President Trump. The 4 counts center around the 2020 election.
With conspiring to defraud the United States, conspiring to disenfranchise voters, and conspiring and attempting to obstruct an official proceeding.
I would consider this the most serious of the indictments that the former president has had so far.
5 on Your Side legal analyst says Mr. Trump's previous indictments bolstered his base. She expects the same this time.
He has always liked to come at the position when he was in private life and in government of being a fighter, of being oppressed, kind of that punching back. And so I think this puts him in a stance that even though these allegations are certainly very serious, it's a stance he sort of likes to be in.
She believes it could play well in upcoming primaries, but it may not be the ticket to ultimate victory.
The majority of Americans think that there were crimes committed, are concerned about this, and that's not good once you get outside the Republican primary and into a general election. If you're kind of the Republican Party, the Republican establishment, this is a scary time.
Mr. Trump is expected to be arraigned on Thursday. His campaign calling the indictment a witch hunt. Just last week, a new indictment and a separate investigation into Trump's alleged mishandling of classified documents brought even more charges against him. And
Nearly 4 hours ago, Johnny Johnson died by lethal injection for the murder of 6-year-old Casey Williamson. Our Robert Townsend was at the Bonne Terre State Prison for the execution.
Several family members of Casey Williamson came to this state prison to see the man convicted of murdering her 21 years ago executed. In July of 2002, the case gripped the hearts of many in the St. Louis area and made national headlines when 6-year-old Williamson disappeared from her home in Valley Park. Dozens of volunteers and police searched for the missing child. On July 26th, Casey's body was later found in a pit inside an abandoned glass factory less than a mile from her South St. Louis County home. Prosecutors say Johnny Johnson confessed to beating the child to death with bricks and rocks after he tried to rape her. When Johnson showed up at a barbecue, Casey's family let him sleep on their couch the night before she was killed. Anti-death penalty advocates said Johnson had schizophrenia and should not have been executed. But in a statement, Governor Mike Parsons said in part, courts found that Johnson was competent at the time of the crime and is competent now. The prison's director read Parsons' statement to the media.
Johnny Johnson's crime was one of the most horrific murders that has come across my desk. Casey was an innocent girl who bravely fought Johnson until he took her life. My office has received countless letters in the last few weeks seeking justice for Casey.
Just after 6:30 Tuesday night, Johnson died by lethal injection. Williamson's family did not talk to the media after Johnson's execution, nor did they issue a statement. In Bonne Terre, Robert Townsend, 5 on Your Side.
In Johnson's final statement, he said, quote, "God bless. Sorry to the people and family I hurt." He was the 4th person to be executed in Missouri this year. A child is now safe after a man takes off with his girlfriend's car and her 4-year-old son inside. The car was stolen from a Quick Trip in St. Anne. Officers from the North County Co-op spotted the car using flock cameras and tried to pull it over. The driver refused to stop, reaching 120 miles per hour. Officers eventually caught the man at Natural Bridge in Goodfellow. The child was not physically harmed. New tonight, a community-wide celebration in East St. Louis in honor of National Night Out. Here was the scene at Lincoln Park just a few hours ago. Huge crowd showing up for this event. It's aimed at better connecting the community with law enforcement. It's also about neighbors building relationships with one another to keep the community safe. Since state police partnered with East St. Louis Police a few years ago to help solve crimes, leaders say it's made a big difference.
We have accomplished a lot. Not only have there been a lot of cases that have been solved and a lot of people that have been sentenced for crimes that they've committed, but I think that we've built a better relationship with the community.
So we're always happy when all levels of law enforcement give our community the attention that we need and deserve.
National night events are happening all over the bi-state and all over the nation. Many of those events offer entertainment, food, and resources to help build stronger communities. The Archdiocese of St. Louis All Things New restructuring, which reshapes 178 Catholic parishes into 134, goes into effect today. But the plan is on pause at several parishes as they appeal. Now the Archdiocese gave specific instructions to parishioners on the proper steps to appeal. Within a certain time frame, parishioners needed to write to the Archbishop, and then his office would forward those appeals to the Vatican. However, not everyone did that. The founder of Save Rome of the West has been assisting parishes in the appeal process. Jason Bolt said there are 6 additional parishes that went directly to Rome, bypassing the Archdiocese. And the Archdiocese did not put those 6 locations in their list of suspended plans.
Is there a chance that they're just not aware? Yes. And if that's the case, we want to make you aware right now that there are 6 other parishes, and if you're going to stop it for 7, you need to stop it for all 13. Truly, to be equitable and be fair and just in all of this, everybody should get the same, fighting chance on this.
The Archdiocese says it will have to wait until they receive notification and direction from the Vatican on next steps for those 6 parishes who went directly to Rome.